My name is Nicky Harris. I'm one of the coordinators for the Bailiwick Dolfin project, alongside Liz Sweet, who is the manager for the Guernsey Biological Record Centre. I'm here to give an overview of what our project is doing in the Channel Islands in terms of monitoring cetaceans. So all whales and dolphins are a type of marine mammal, and they fit into the family known as Cetacea. This family is quite big. It's got over 90 known species, though depending on who you talk to within the cetacean world, there are as many as 120. This family is divided broadly into two suborders, those known as toothed whales and those known as baleen whales. Baleen whales tend to be the biggest whales that we know of. That's things like blue whales, fin whales. So think big, and that's probably a baleen whale. Toothed whales, as you can tell, have teeth, and they tend to be the smaller whales or dolphins. So all dolphins or porpoise belong to toothed whale family, but also animals like narwhals belong to the toothed whales. Very quick overview of the differences in anatomy between toothed whales and baleen whales. Toothed whales, not only are they on the whole quite small in size, though the sperm whale is kind of an exception, that is a toothed whale as well. They all tend to have very streamlined bodies, as you can see. It's almost shaped like a missile. They have very good eyesight. They often have a dorsal fin, which they use to help streamline through the water, and they have very, very powerful flukes, which they use to kick through the water. So these species also tend to have amazing ability in terms of echolocation, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. In contrast, baleen whales are not often as streamlined, and instead of teeth, they have these great sheets of baleen in their mouth, which they use to filter out their food. So toothed whales tend to hunt actively for their prey, and it's a variety of fish species that sometimes can get quite large, whereas baleen whales hunt for tiny fish or even plankton in water, stuff that you might not be able to see with the naked eye. And in order to get a meal's worth, they have to suck all of this mixture of these microorganisms or small fish species alongside water into their mouths, and then they will spit out all of the water using that baleen sheet as a bit of a sieve. So animals included in this family, as I've mentioned, the blue whale can get as long as 33 meters. So that's quite hard to imagine, but plenty, it's about as long as a football field at least. And while we're in Guernsey, we do have a few varieties of baleen whales in our waters. We don't have quite as many as the rest of the UK. So yeah, what cetaceans do we get in our Channel Islands? In terms of baleen whales, we get one of the smallest baleen whales known as the minke whale. We get slightly larger species called the sei whale and even the fin whale. So fin whales are actually the second largest baleen whale in the world. And they look very similar to sei whales, but there are slight morphological differences. You can see them slightly between these photos. One of these whales, you'll see, has a different jaw color on one side of its face than the other. The sei whale is just generally it's smaller, but you would really struggle to see these whales unless you're very, very far out at sea in the Channel Islands. The minke whale, in contrast, has been spotted in very close waters to Guernsey itself. Even last year, someone was lucky enough to spot one off the south coast from shore. Lastly, we have had a humpback whale come into Channel Islands waters, but these whales we don't believe would ever be resident within the Channel Islands in any way. This humpback sighting, here it is in Jersey, came in 2018 or 2019, struggling to remember which year it was, but it wasn't spotted too far off of their coastal area. However, they believe that this whale was quite confused and had travelled the wrong way around the UK, trying to get out into the Atlantic Ocean. So while it is possible that we might see humpbacks, it's very, very unlikely in comparison to those other 3 baleen whales. In terms of toothed whales, we have quite a big variety. Those include the dolphin species, the common dolphin, the bottlenose dolphin, which is this dolphin that we see most often in our waters, Risso's dolphin, which we see occasionally in our waters, and we used to believe that they would only come between August and September. However, a recent sighting this year in February indicates that that may no longer be the case. Atlantic white-sided dolphin, we have seen these in our historical records. They occasionally pop up in our waters, but they are quite a deep water species. And lastly, longfin pilot whales, which are actually a dolphin. There is a fun part of the cetacean and marine mammal studies world, which is that a lot of dolphins have whale in their name and whales have dolphin in their name. So it can be sometimes quite confusing if you look in an ID guide to know immediately what you're looking at. But yeah, longfin pilot whales are a dolphin. We used to get these off of our north coast shore quite often, and I'm saying about 25 years ago, if the records are to be believed, but they have not been seen in recent times. That does not mean that we won't see them in the Channel Island waters in the future, because they are still seen off of the French coast. Lastly, I should mention one of the toothed whale species that is the most popular cetacean in the UK, which is the Atlantic Harbour porpoise. If you are lucky enough to see these guys, really feel proud of your spotting skills. Harbour porpoise, people might think at first, are quite similar to dolphins, especially to bottlenose dolphins, but they have quite a few distinctions. So harbour porpoises are an incredibly shy species. They've got quite a blunt head in compared to bottlenoses and other dolphin species, and a very small fin, which is triangle shaped. But if you are lucky enough, or if you see bottlenoses, more likely than not, they might be quite curious, might come up to your boat, or might be jumping out the water quite actively. Porpoises, in contrast, are very shy. They will avoid boats at all costs, so you're more likely to see them from shore if you're looking out with a pair of binoculars. We have got some around the Channel Islands. We've definitely got some around Guernsey. If you see them around the coasts, you might be able to see them several times in the same location because they have a very small home range. Right, so the bailiwick dolphin project does focus on one dolphin species, one cetacean species, more than others right now, and that is the bottlenose dolphin. Because we have been seeing quite a large increase in sightings since 2014, and we've really not got much of an idea why this is happening. And because bottlenoses are a really important indicator species for changes in the environment, by understanding exactly how they've changed their distribution to come in the Channel Islands more, we can understand more about our environment. So I just want to give a little bit more information about bottlenose dolphins. So these dolphins are found throughout the world, from subpolar north to subpolar south. They can live for up to 50 years old. And they are quite a large species. So around 3.5 meters long and 250 kilos. They are one of the most intelligent species of dolphin or cetacean. And they're incredibly social. So they like to spend their time together in groups, which are known as pods, and these pods can range in size from a few individuals to many hundreds. In different parts of the world, bottlenose dolphins eat a variety of different prey foods, and in Guernsey this might include things like mackerel or squid or other fish. And because they're so intelligent, bottlenose dolphins are actually one of the few species that can recognise themselves in a mirror. Overall, the population is quite stable, but subpopulation in Europe has been designated as vulnerable and is decreasing. So because we are known as part of Europe's population, we really need to take care and monitor the dolphins, the bottlenose dolphins we have. Going on to communication and vocalization, which is to do with the echolocation that I mentioned earlier. Bottlenose dolphins are a type of species that need to navigate around their environment using sound, because as anyone who's swum around Guernsey at any time of year, particularly right now, the water is very murky and it's probably quite difficult to see more than 2 meters in front of you. So sound travels much faster in water, and it's a much better way of understanding your environment if you can manipulate it. Dolphins echolocate using a variety of high-pitched sounds, which then bounce off the environment and then come back to them. They can frame what their environment looks like, but they also use different sounds to navigate around within their environment, which are pops and whistles to communicate. They also can use a specialized form of sound to even stun their prey, which has been seen in several parts of the world. All of these sounds obviously just show how intelligent this species are and how social they are. Within the Channel Islands, our bottlenose population, we're still trying to work it out in Guernsey, but for the last few years, the French bottlenose dolphin group, known as JECC, have been studying the population of Normandy. They currently know that there's about as many as 571 individuals. This was from a 2015 estimate, which puts that area as having one of the largest bottlenose populations in Europe. As you can see from the little diagram, the dark blue area shows all of the sites and zones that this GECC group have been studying around the Normandy coast, and they have been studying Jersey as well. However, we have been missing from that group, so we aren't really sure if the dolphins that we see, the bottlenose dolphins we see around Guernsey, are any of these pods from Normandy. And just to further talk about the diagram, they're split into different colours. There's a red pod, there's a green pod and a blue pod, and these pods all take up different areas and don't interact. They interact within their pods colours, but they don't interact as much between pods. So it'd be interesting to know if we get dolphins in Guernsey that are from just one of these coloured pods, or we get multiples, but we really don't know at this point, and it's something that we're really looking forward to finding out. So what are we doing with our Guernsey Dolphin project? So working through the Guernsey Biological Record Centre, we are collecting records from around the Channel Islands, around Guernsey and Alderney and Tarkenham in particular, which we are using to build up an understanding of our bottlenose population, or our dolphin population as well. So using all this information, we can find out how many dolphins we might have, where they're hanging out, if they're resident to our one particular area, or if they're just visiting for the day from France, and also what they're doing while they're here. While we're focusing on bottlenose dolphins for this project, it's really important that if you see any other cetaceans, that you send records into either our project or to the Guernsey Biological Record Centre, because we would really, really love to know what else is out there. Once sub-aspect of our group of the project with bottlenose dolphins is photo IDs. So bottlenose dolphins, their dorsal fin, unlike the rest of their body, it doesn't heal in quite the same way. So when a dolphin is playing with other dolphins, they can get quite active, they might bite each other, and they might even tear off part of their friend's fin. And that skin or that rake mark will not heal over completely, it might not grow back, and it makes it like a fingerprint. So you can track one individual in regions over time, and you can see who they're associating with, you can see what they're doing if you get all of those records. So we were looking for people to send in fin IDs, send in fins so we can make an ID chart of what dolphins we might have in our local waters. We have at least quite a few individuals, and I've just shown a couple here. This is Pip, who you have seen in 2018 and 2019. You can see that it has in about 1/3 from the top. To me, it looks like a bit of a can opener, but it's quite a small marking, and nonetheless, you can see same fin and therefore the same dolphin in 2019. So we know that it has been here on 2 occasions at least in 2 separate years. Our more recognized example is Trevor. Trevor has quite a large nick, about 2/3 of the way down his fin, and we have seen him in 2018, 2019, and in 2020. We can't ignore that there are a lot of threats that cetaceans are facing, and this is not only worldwide, but it is also local. And as part of the project, I really need to stress about what we can do to minimize these threats and help cetaceans. So some of the biggest threats that cetaceans face include noise pollution, boat strikes, plastic and pollutants, and industrial fishing practices, not to mention climate change. Noise pollution, as you can see on this map on the right-hand side, this is a photo from cargo vessels, just cargo vessels in the UK in 1 year, and all the transits they make. Vessels make a lot of noise from their propellers. So when a cetacean needs to navigate through its environment using sound, this noise can mask all of the sounds they make and mean that they can get confused in the water, they don't know where they are, and it can also lead to ship strokes as a result. Boats aren't the only things that make noises underwater. Oil drilling, that's another source of noise pollution, but also pile driving, which comes from development of wind farms. So it's a very complex issue in terms of wanting to limit climate change through the development of wind farms, but also doing it in a way that doesn't damage the habitats or injure cetaceans while building them. And it's something that the UK is working its way around right now, how to mitigate those problems. There are some ways to limit noise pollution, even as a boater around the island. If you slow your boat down, cargo vessels, if they slow their boats down a little bit, it can dramatically decrease the amount of noise. This is a sad image that was taken around Portsmouth Harbour. Some of the large boats don't even know that they're doing damage and striking, but smaller vessels should be able to see where they're going and avoid these issues. Plastic and pollutants. This was taken from a whale's stomach last year up in, I think it's Norway. This was a type of beaked whale that they found stranded. As you can see, it's full of plastic bags. Yeah. Also, industrial fishing practices must mention very quickly. I'm talking about things like super trawlers, because they can't see what they're pulling in their nets until it's too late. Small scale fishing doesn't have nearly the impact on cetaceans as large vessels. But this is an issue that's affecting France, Bay of Biscay. They've had 1,000 common dolphin deaths in the last year related to large fishing practices, large fishing boats. Yeah, so it's something that we must note because it is not that far away from us and it can impact our populations. So how to mitigate and follow guidelines to minimise the threats to cetaceans' local waters. The Guernsey harbours have a boating code for marine mammals, which I really highly recommend you read through if you are a boater. Even if you aren't a boater but you know someone who has a boat, read it, share it, make sure it's followed because it can make a huge difference. Alongside following all of those rules and helping minimise threats, please send in your sightings. Please come and join us when everything is back to normal, whatever normal is this summer. We're doing surveys because we're going to be doing them from the land, and we'll be probably doing some from sea as well. And just help everyone around you know the rules on the water and know how to send everything in. And then lastly, just to thank everyone who has partnered with us and who has helped sponsor us so far to get some equipment, to get everything set up. This includes Waitrose and Condor alongside the ICCI and all of these lovely businesses that have sent in their sightings. Just to show you what some of the cetaceans look like, I've got a selection of videos showing them within the Channel Islands.